Summer is officially here and more people are entertaining outdoors. Shop Smart Deputy Editor Sue Perry joins us with important food safety tips to carry you through from prep to cleanup. Good morning, Sue.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. So there's lots to do to get the meal ready for your guests when prepping meats, veggies, fruits, and appetizers such as dairy-based dips. What should we be doing to make sure we are keeping our food safe?
Well, the first thing you can do, and I know it sounds like a no-brainer, is wash your hands. Wash your hands every time you touch food and between different food jobs, especially when you're handling raw meat. Because what you're doing is, if you don't do that, you risk cross-contamination. If there is any kind of organism or, something that could be causing foodborne illness, you risk cross-contamination by not doing that. And you want to give your hands a good wash, 20 seconds underwater with soap, and also wash the utensils as you go from job to job, because you've got to, when you're cutting the chicken, you don't want to be using that same knife to cut your watermelon. I know that sounds like a no-brainer, but when you're really busy and racing and you've got a lot of people coming over, some of these little things can happen, and so you want to just be mindful. Also, use 2 different cutting boards, one for fruit, one for meats, and that will also help reduce the chances of cross-contamination when you're prepping food.
Absolutely. It's better to be safe than sorry. And Sue, do you suggest definitely washing your hands and not using like an instant hand sanitizer?
You know what? Wash your hands with soap and water. That's fine. But you know what? If you're out at a picnic or you're camping out or whatever you're doing, you're not around soap and water, a hand sanitizer would be good too.
Okay, wonderful. So what are some things to keep in mind when actually grilling, particularly meat and poultry?
Well, when you're grilling, anything, any kind of meat on the grill, you should really take the food's temperature. Don't guess, because you really want to cook food to the proper temperature to be safe. And the USDA has guidelines, and there are very inexpensive food thermometers that you can use, just like probe things that you poke into the chicken and into your burgers, anything that you're cooking, and make sure you're cooking it to the proper degree for that food. And usually what the USDA recommends is medium to well done. So those who are eating their meats rare, you're taking a risk. And don't just poke the chicken and hope the juices run clear and that's it. That's not necessarily the safest way to go. You really should use a meat thermometer. Also, if you're marinating meat, don't save the marinade. Don't reuse that marinade. Okay, I marinated the steak. Gee, that marinade was really good. I'll throw the chicken in there too. Not a good idea. Throw out the marinade, make a new marinade for the chicken, and don't put the cooked food on the plate where you've had the raw meat. You brought the platter out, all your burgers were on that, and then you put the burgers back on that platter. That's not good. The cooking would kill any chance of having some organism there that could make you sick. But the minute you put it on the platter where you had the raw meat, then you're introducing, possibilities again. So you want to be careful about things like that.
It seems like a lot to think about, but it really does make a big difference. People have to keep all of that in mind for sure. Now, on a very hot day, what are some tips for keeping certain items from spoiling, and how long can we keep food out?
Well, time is a ticking when you're on, eating outdoors. So on a very hot day, at 90 degrees and above, we say don't keep that food out. Anything that needs to be served cold should not be kept out longer than an hour. If any temperatures below 90 degrees, 2 hours is safe. But after that, it should be refrigerated or put back in the cooler. And by all means, do not bring it home and say, if it's been sitting out longer, and say, oh, I'm going to have this for leftovers tomorrow. Don't. When in doubt, throw that out if it goes any longer. You really don't want to do that. Also, any food that's meant to be served cold and it's a really hot day, serve it on ice. It looks pretty and it'll keep it chilled, and that will be really nice. And as you're taking and transporting your food to the picnic, remember that you want to use coolers, and it's a good idea to use 2 different coolers, one for your prepared foods and one for your beverages. And the reason we say that is the beverage container or the cooler is going to be the most popular one. People are going to go in and out of that all the time getting their beer and soda or whatever. And therefore, every time it's opened, it's air is introduced, people's hands are in there, so you don't want to have your food in there too. That's why you want to have a separate cooler. And when you're transporting your food, make sure you have plenty of ice packs, ice in those coolers to keep it chilled and the right temperature. And also, don't put it in the hot trunk. I know this sounds like a no-brainer, but make sure the food rides with you in the air-conditioned car.
This is such great information, Sue. Really great tips. Thanks so much for helping to keep us safe this summer.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. And for more information, you can head to our website, mymassappeal.com, later on today.